Hello, everyone. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Bill Pucko with you and my buddies. Tariq Spence, how you doing, man?
I got the memo for the black shirt today. What's going on? I don't know what's happening.
And you didn't wear the hat, though. You need the knit hat.
Yeah, this is true. That's what makes Duffy exclusive.
It's a new look.
Thank you.
What do you got on the jersey?
One of the most unique, as we're speaking unique Sabres jerseys, Wayne Simmons, strangest Sabres career ever. He was traded at the end of his contract at the trade deadline right before COVID. His contract was expiring. He played 7 games. They shut the league down. They didn't put the Sabres in the playoffs, and I got his 7-game jersey.
Wow. Hey, Tariq, we got our Final Four in college football. What do you think of them?
Love it, and get a little bit of everything. Get the 2 powerhouses. Obviously, everybody's looking forward to Alabama, Georgia. But then you get this other team of Cincinnati. And every year we seem to want to be, I just want the best 4 teams, the best 4 teams. Well, Cincinnati played their schedule. They're one of the best 4 teams. And every year, people who love hockey bring up the Miracle on Ice. Oh, I can't believe it. What a great moment in sports. Then we put in a team that's kind of an underdog, never seen before, a Boise State or somebody else in a tournament, and we get upset that they're not a powerhouse. Well, what if Cincinnati goes out, plays well, and makes it to the championship? This is what we talk about in sports and why we watch it. So I'm rooting for Cincinnati. I don't think they're going to make it to the championship game, but they're in the tournament.
Well, it's going to be a degenerate gambler, so I always know the point spread. So Alabama's favored by 13.5 over Cincinnati going in. And the other thing is, I thought going into the weekend that we just finished, it was like the best bet ever is to see Alabama playing against Georgia, because Alabama had to win it and Georgia didn't. And if there's ever a motivating factor, I thought that this is one of the best bets of the year.
I'm with you 100%. By the way, I'm surprised it's only 13.5 after what Alabama just did to Georgia. Granted, maybe you're not showing them everything. I don't know. Look, I agree with you. There should be one team that's a non-traditional powerhouse that's in there every year, because every year you can find it. But let's not sit and pretend like it's likely, even remotely possible, that Cincinnati goes and beats Alabama. Like, that 13.5 sounds like a scam to get people to try and watch that game. I'm going to watch it. It'll be fun. But until you keep giving access to these, I want to say mid-major, but that's not what I mean. You guys understand what I'm saying. And let them keep doing this over and over again, you're going to constantly run into a valid argument as to why you can't put them in. Like, Boise State happens once every 25 years, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, it's like the group of 5, I think is what they call them. It just sounds like some organized crime unit. But the thing is, when they expand the playoffs, which I think is coming soon, you're always going to have 1, maybe 2 of those teams floating around in there.
And look at where we are now with Michigan, too. The team nobody's really talking about, a chance to possibly beat Georgia. We'll see. We'll see what goes on with that, and then make the championship game. That erased all the ghosts for Jim Harbaugh. Remember, the last 3 years or so, couldn't beat Ohio State, finally did that, won the Big Ten. Now you're in the tournament. Let's see if he can pay off.
And the best thing is Ohio State's not part of it.
Yeah.
You know that they're not in it.
Yep, you get to see and watch and wait and see going into next year, of course, avenging that loss to Michigan.
If you got a thing that you like in terms of like the number that they should expand this to, I assume that you want them to stretch it out a little bit.
No, I'll be honest with you. I like 4. I think the debate is more fun than the actual games, because every year we seem to be disappointed by these college football playoff games, right? Like, this idea that if you add more teams, the games are going to be better. What makes you think that? Like, I mean, conference by conference, week by week, player by player, injury by injury, these college football games wildly move. So I think that the months of argument as to who the 4 are will be way more entertaining than if you increase it to 8 or 12 playoff teams.
I mean, I like the bowl games. Some of these bowl games I'm not going to be watching anyway, but if you turn those bowl games into playoff games, maybe play them a little bit earlier, give these teams 2 to 3 weeks to rest. I know for the teams that will be top-seeded teams, you could expand the playoffs, but that's in theory, and that's a lot of work to figure all that stuff out.
And let's go even further. Let's say you expand the playoffs. Well, look what happened this year with Notre Dame, Cincinnati. Brian Kelly leaves despite the fact that his team had a legitimate shot to make the playoffs. Luke Fickell being rumored to replace him. Well, now if you expand the way that coaches have been moving, you could have multiple teams without a head coach in a spot to win a national championship, but think they're so far out having to win that many games that they won't do it. It would be chaos.
Or they won't move.
No, they're not going to leave for more money? Yeah, that's a college football coach. I've heard of that guy before.
We have the Rochester Press Box. We're talking Buffalo Bills next. Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box, our Buffalo Bills segment brought to you by Ralph Honda for 3 generations and for now over 50 years. New York's first and oldest Honda dealer. Visit Ralph Honda today and find out how we do Honda right at ralphhonda.com. Well, Tariq is the one that sounded the alarm, and you and I kind of thought that the Bills were going to be okay this last week.
But they were okay. What was the alarm? What was the concern?
Well, that they'd lose.
Okay, losing a game is one thing, yes.
Losing the way they lost.
How did they lose?
They lost with a quarterback only throwing 3 passes.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, that was a Yabot, though.
Okay. Listen, your defense has held your team together for the last 3 weeks. Would you not agree with that?
No, they scored 30-something points against the Saints the week before.
Wait a minute. Wait. The defense has been able to keep their opponents down.
Yes.
You haven't been able to run the ball, which has been a concern for the last 2 years.
No, that lazy take is the reason why the Bills lost the game on Monday
When
night.
did he start hating Thurman Thomas? During the heyday of the Buffalo Bills, who was it? Jim Kelly, Bruce Smith, and who ran the ball? Thurman Thomas.
Hey,
we're back in the heyday. You got the quarterback, you got the defense, you don't have the running game in the cold weather when you need it the most.
No, there are lots of football teams that have won championships on old ideas. We should run the Statue of Liberty play, too, if we're going to talk about previous generations of things.
Oh, my God.
The reason why the Bills have not been successful the last couple of weeks is because they're trying to force running the ball. If you watch the end of that game against New England, all of a sudden, when the Bills stopped trying to force run the ball, they moved the ball downfield. And you know what stopped them in the red zone? What killed them? They ran the ball on first down inside the red zone 2 times. The defense kept that Patriots team out of the red zone with the exception of one drive, and a drive they settled for a field goal. The Patriots didn't win that game. The Bills lost that game. You went 1 for 4 inside the red zone. You were first and goal from the 6.
Not too much minutia on this because, again, the game is Pat. But is this a one-off? Is this a one-off? Is this like a conditions game that we can run off and say, yeah, you know?
We've been running this off the inconsistency, which I brought up 3 weeks ago, as it continues. Lost a game, win a game. Lost a game, win a game. Now, for this upcoming game, to Bill's point, Tom Brady. Technically, you've lost one for the last 8 weeks or so. Mm-hmm. This one, after a loss, would result in a win. Now, the statistics say Tom Brady is 32-3 in his career against Buffalo and has not lost a game at home in Tampa where you're playing this Sunday.
Okay. What's your point?
You're not going to win this game.
Oh, my God.
That's my point.
Oh, my God. Like, you seem to love to look in the past to find things that justify bad takes that you have now. Brady's playing without his 2 best receivers. Am I not mistaken? Is that correct? Because of the COVID suspensions, right? You're still fine with Brady winning this game?
You won last week and has won the entire season
What did they play last week?
Incomplete. It doesn't matter.
Oh, it does matter. You want to have a discussion about this?
Define yourself, because if we got the guy that looks at the past,
Yes.
I'm always quoting Vegas. Where do you come from when you analyze these games?
I come from what is working in the moment. I come from the Bills move the ball in the win. I come from that was a mistake coaching game from the staff. Self-inflicted wounds lost that game. Mm-hmm. I come from this team is built to win. And if you put the ball in the hands of your most successful players, you will. Don't try to be something you're not, which is we're going to control the line of scrimmage. Go chuck the ball around the yard. Go play ball and see what happens.
The best thing for the Bills is the fact that they're playing in Tampa, that they can throw the ball this week. Last week, you needed a running game to slow the team down. Oh, by the way, you're playing in a region where you'll go back to snow again, take on the New England Patriots again. I'm not worried about the Jets. I'm not worried about Atlanta. I'm not worried about Carolina. You'll probably beat those teams. This is the week you need to win for your season. You know that.
It's not true. You don't need to win this game this week for the season. There's 17 games this season. Bro. The team with the number 1 seed in the NFL right now has 9 wins. The Bills are 2 games back of the first overall seed in the AFC. And you're going to tell me this is a must-win game with 5 to go?
This is a must-win game with 5 to go.
It's not a must-win game.
I think because we're so on top of this team, I think right now we're suffering from, we think it's worse than it is.
I don't. That's what I'm saying.
I go back to Vegas. So right now the Bills are 7th in the AFC, but they're the 6th best odds to win the Super Bowl.
Huh, wait, that's weird.
They're the second highest team in terms of point differential.
With the Bills being the 6th best bet to win the, is that with Thurman Thomas on the roster? I just want to make sure we're all understanding what's going on. Is that modern Thurman Thomas, old Thurman Thomas?
You'll take any running back that can give you 5 yards.
Recency. By the way, Matt Breida's never seeing the field ever again. You put the ball on the field. I'll put the ball on the ground 2 times in 4 games. Look,
that was tough.
Recency bias, right? You see what you want to see. You get soaked up in this, Bill Belichick's a legend. 1 completed pass in the red zone in 2 tries that the Bills would have had when they were moving the ball. Bill Belichick's genius game plan goes from genius to old man only threw the ball 3 times and lost to the Bills who weren't having a successful night until they decided to throw the ball.
Pick the Bucs game.
Bills, you win in Tampa Bay. And I'm going to go for the reason, because the weather's going to be good, you don't have to run the ball.
Every stat says you're going to lose this game, except the fact that you've one loss for the last 8 weeks. So I guess you will win this game.
I don't think you can bank on
Wait a minute, you're going to come in with all this stuff. You're going to come negative.
This quarterback has dominated you, and you'll never get another chance unless you beat him this week, Buffalo.
Bro,
you better beat him this week.
6 years ago, we would never have another chance to beat him. God.
I said you guys would go 3-1 for the month of December, and you already lost the game. Oh my God.
Very good. I like it because they're running scared. I think that's a good place to be. I think mentally it's a good place to be going down to Tampa after everything that's happened. So I would play.
Don't lose this game.
I would play the
Duffy.
Bills this week.
Don't lose this game.
When I get in there with
segment brought to you by. It's okay. It's Ralph. It's got to stop
You
sometime.
need to ghost him.
The Buffalo Bills segment brought to you by Ralph Honda. Like it or not, it's next.
He's alive.
Here's the Press Box Trivia question brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Hello again, Mike O'Brien, your getaway guy. Holiday light shows, 'tis the season. I've got them all in my podcast. Find the links to the podcast and the YouTube video at thegetawayguy.com.
Here's the Press Box Trivia answer brought to you by Market View Liquor, where exceptional customer service meets an extensive selection. Jefferson Road at 390.
Are you facing criminal charges from a DWI and feel that you never imagined it could happen to you? Contact attorneys with years of experience as prosecutors and defenders. Contact Ganguly Brothers Law today for a free consultation. You can put your trust in us.
Hello, welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Like it or not, brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law. Attorneys with years of experience defending the accused. Don't go unprepared. Contact Ganguly Brothers Law today. Like it or not, Kenny Pickett stunt the fake slide in a college football game this last week.
Love it because it's not going to happen again. And the reason why it's not going to happen again is there's a theory whether or not he'll play in the bowl game. But I think what's interesting about this is that the college football in general has been trying to protect the quarterback. He pulled one move that they will now institute once the college football season is done that no quarterback can do again. That slide move was perfect. It's a one and done. Can't happen again. Every defensive corner in college football will be looking to make sure that a quarterback doesn't do that again to them. He ran it for 40 yards. You'll never see that play again.
What did you think of it? I'm sure you saw it, right?
I did see it. Actually, Warren Moon used to do this all the time. If you go back and watch.
Man, was there even a sliding rule back then?
He would pretend like he was going to get down. There was no sliding rule. He was going to get down. Because you remember, he played late in his career in the NFL, right?
Yeah. But what really separates us is that you give protection to a guy who's going to go sliding.
Absolutely.
He fakes a slide, everyone backs off, and he takes off down the sideline.
I mean, look. Take advantage of what benefits you until they take it away from you. I can respect it. I respect a lot of thought went into that, right? And by the way, if it doesn't go right, you get really hurt. You know what I'm saying? Like, good for him.
Well, it's a good reason for him not to play in the Peach Bowl because he's forfeited the protection of the referees for the rest of his college career.
Michigan State would be ready for that. Mel Tucker would have had his defense ready for that play anyway, and he would have let
Not so
him
much
up.
being ready for it. I think they just take his head off. He says, look, if he goes down, I don't care, do it.
Yeah, other college quarterbacks may pay for that later, though.
He's right about
And then
that.
I wonder, too, if it transfers into the NFL. Do you think the NFL referees, pick up on this?
I think NFL quarterbacks are too smart to do what he tried to do. Like, that's young and brave and kind of stupid. What NFL quarterback, what moment in a game would you fake slide knowing you have a career left you have to play? You're not going to do that.
A quick, like or not, Coach McDermott of the Bills commenting that he felt that Bill Belichick was getting too much credit for the strategy used in the win over the Bills this last
I
week.
agree with 100%. And look, it's what he's not saying that you have to listen to. What McDermott is not saying, but what he's saying is, I screwed that up. I went in there and I made mistakes in the game. It wasn't Belichick's game plan that did anything great. I made the mistakes by changing up the tempo inside the red zone in the fourth quarter 2 times, kicking that field goal in 50-mile-an-hour winds from the 1-yard line. He made the mistakes. The Patriots didn't win that game. The Bills lost it.
You know full well, as a national coverage of football, people love to say Bill Belichick's a genius more than they like to say McDermott is not. So I think that's going to just play into the narrative and the history for Bill Belichick because he had a quarterback who was capable, best rookie, probably one of the better quarterbacks in the NFL, and rising, throw 3 passes and win a game. That's what's going to go underneath his history banks.
You're going to have clout in your own locker room and with your organization to even attempt a game plan that has only 3 passes.
I don't know. Richie Kotite used to do it, didn't he?
Yeah, it worked great for him. Where's he coaching?
Was that the worst coach ever in the NFL?
No, Bobby Petrino. But we can go on and on and on.
Yeah, that was good. Like it or Not brought to you by Ganguly Brothers Law. Unfinished Business is next.
The Press Box Stat of the Week is being brought to you by McArdle's Restaurant in Fairport. McArdle's is open 7 days a week with dining available indoors and out, takeout and delivery. Come home to McArdle's.
And now to Eichel. He floated one.
Welcome back. Thanks for joining us here on the Rochester Press Box. Time for Unfinished Business. Pat, start us off.
What a difference a month makes. It was about a month ago I sat here and talked about the reason why the Sabres, despite the fact that they weren't supposed to be, were playing so well was because of the goaltending that they had. And as soon as I said that, I ruined the universe because Craig Anderson, who in his 40s was playing fantastic, got an upper body injury. He hasn't played in about a month. And then Dustin Tokarski, who was standing on his head playing amazing, well, he hit a little bit of a rough skid and got hurt multiple times himself. So that meant Aaron Dell had to come in and start being an NHL starter. And no disrespect to Aaron Dell, but he may not be an NHL goalie. So the Sabres, to fix this problem, went out and made a trade for an NHL goalie. They traded for Malcolm Subban, brought him in, former first-round pick. And in the first game that he was playing before the final horn ever sounded, he hurt himself. And we don't know how long he's going to be out for. So earlier this week, Ukko-Pekka Luukkonen, who I first brought up on this show about 4 years ago, got his first start of the season for the Buffalo Sabres. He's the future of this Sabres franchise in net. He played pretty well, too. Would have had a perfect goals against had it not been some freak tap-in lacrosse-style goal. The bottom line is this. There's no way to judge what this Sabres team is going to be next year or the year after based on what's happening here because you have no one in net to let you know who they're going to be. The defensemen don't play the way the defensemen are supposed to play if they don't have faith in who's behind them. And it's hard to have faith in who's behind them, not to the fault of the guys that are there because they're not NHL goalies. Enjoy, watch, have fun, celebrate the explosions, and don't get too upset when they're giving up an average of 6 goals per game in the last 2 weeks in the NHL.
I'll take the words of Duffy and talk about my New York Football Giants. It was about a year ago I said Daniel Jones was not the quarterback for the Giants. Got a lot of flack for that. Still don't believe he's the quarterback for the Giants, but he is going to be the quarterback probably next year due to injury that it makes it inconclusive of whether or not he's a starting quarterback in the NFL. He lost his offensive coordinator. They're not much better. We had a backup quarterback. We see how well that went against the Miami Dolphins. And now we have Jake Fromm, who I'll now have to ask Duffy about because he's been on the practice squad for the Bills for the last season. All I'm saying is that the New York Giants are in purgatory. They don't know what to do with themselves. They'll probably get rid of a GM who may keep or get rid of Joe Judge. I'm good either way, but the Giants are not ready to win. We were supposed to be better than the Jets. Now, I'm not quite sure. All I know is full forward that we don't have the money to get a quarterback. We don't have the time to change the team fast enough, and it looks like it'll be another miserable year yet next year. I was saying get off of Daniel Jones last year. Now I'm saying get rid of them all.
My former father-in-law, Walter Slavinsky, coached track and field at Bates College for 43 years. They dedicated the track in his honor back in 1999 when he was too ill to attend the ceremonies. Former Rochester Razor Sharks star Keith Friel's father, Jerry, was the winningest basketball coach at the University of New Hampshire. They named the court in Friel's honor in 2009, 6 months after his death. The latest example of exceptionally poor timing was the announcement last week that Buck O'Neil had been elected into baseball's Hall of Fame. O'Neil spent 80 years in the game. He's the grandson of a slave who learned to play in the Deep South. O'Neil played close to 20 years with the legendary Kansas City Monarchs of the Negro Leagues. Using those contacts, he became a highly sought-after scout after baseball integrated. He helped discover the likes of Ernie Banks and Lou Brock. Buck O'Neil founded the Negro League Baseball Hall of Fame and Museum in Kansas City. Of it, he said at the time, quote, "We spend so much of our lives honoring the people who crossed the bridge. Today we honor the people who built the bridge." He could well have been talking about himself. In 2006, a special committee selected 17 former Negro Leaguers for enshrinement into baseball's Hall of Fame. O'Neil was thought to be a shoo-in. Instead, he fell one vote short. 95 years old at the time, O'Neil nevertheless spoke on behalf of the 17 inductees at Cooperstown. He died a couple months later. Now he is back where he belongs among his fellow immortals. Better late than never, I suppose, but we can do better. We have to do better. That is Unfinished Business, and that is our program, gentlemen. Nice Bills debate again. I appreciate it.
Hey, listen, tell me, please, tell me you know the Bills are going to win this game. You need this game. You need this game against Tampa.
It's not a must-win game.
Yes, it is.
There's 5 games left in the season. There's 17 games. Nobody knows how this shakes out because we've never played 17 games. It's not a must-win game.
It's a must-win.
Thanks for the debate. Thanks for watching our program. We'll see you again next week with the Rochester Press Box.